Hello everyone and welcome back to another market review. This is Silent. Today we are looking at the NASDAQ December contract for 2025 for our Wednesday market review. Starting off with the weekly chart, I brought your attention to the upper quadrant of this previous week candle. So I drew a fib from the close of this candle to the low and measured the upper 25% of that range. I just wanted to note how clean the respect of this delivery was on the lower time frames. So as we go and drop down to the lower time frames, we can see that. And as well, we are beginning to eat up through this upper portion of the previous week's wick. So I'm beginning to suspect that we can get a stronger rally going into the end of the week and get a really nice push for another rally on all-time highs. Jumping down to the daily chart, we can see the respect of that daily wick constant encroachment after stepping into the lower buy-side imbalance and having a turning point on this day. After that, we wanted to reference this buy-side imbalance here as our limiter for any more downside expansion. So as we closed yesterday, we noted that price delivered through half of the up close candle's wick here, and we wanted to see what kind of response we could get eating up through this range. As we open today, we can see how price made an attempt to drop into that constant encroachment of the daily wick here, but actually drew down lower into our daily buy-side imbalance first and had a turning point on lower time frames down here, as well as our weekly wick constant encroachment lining up in that range. And then to close the day, we rallied strongly and made a new all-time high today and closed up through the open and close of these candle bodies here on the daily chart. So after we dropped down and rallied through our daily wick constant encroachment, we continuously stayed above that range and ate up buy side and delivered strongly throughout the rest of that day after crossing this point here. As you can see on the 4-hour chart, I left you with a note of this wick constant encroachment and this wick constant encroachment. You can see how on the open we rallied up into that range and rejected harshly from that and actually closed lower and began eating through the 4-hour SIBI here. And then we finally dropped right down into our higher time frame levels and still did not get any bodies down inside this range, but wicked down into it. Notice how there's no closure of bodies below this previous low. That's telling me that that is a suspect drop and that maybe we will continue our bullishness even after taking out multiple levels of sell-side liquidity. After we close here, we rally up through that 4-hour SIBI and up through that lower wick. Coming off that high, we close and then open right on top of the 4-hour SIBI from our previous note. We drop down and respect the low of that, and price could not even drop into the open or close of these bodies here. It's respected with this low very strongly and just colors outside of it slightly. After crossing this opening price again, we rally very strongly through the constant encroachment of this wick, and all throughout the day of New York, continuous delivery higher up through this wick and up through this wick and up through that daily wick constant encroachment and close strongly above these highs and deliver basically at the same high as the new all-time high. I'm wanting to see if tomorrow can drop down into this imbalance range and respect the daily wick constant encroachment and make an attempt to deliver very strongly into a blow off top move into a new all-time high. If we begin rolling lower and respecting this wick as a premium array, I'm going to be watching all of this smooth range down here with these bodies and that candle here for a reversal scenario. Alright, and dropping down to the 1 hour time frame. Remember, we are referencing this 1 hour SIBI as we close the day inside of it and drop lower. We want to see how price delivered after the open, and we want to see responsiveness immediately through these highs, which we did not see deliver. Price instead dropped lower strongly through this buy side imbalance and treated as an inversion array on this up close candle. We invert it here and then sell off and go into that daily reference point on the open of London today. After we open at midnight, there's a strong drop into the daily buy side imbalance and that wick constant encroachment. Notice the overlap in these two ranges and the bodies respecting the weekly level very nicely on the open and close of these candles. And then turning around here, we have a response from the high of that daily buy side imbalance. Again, if this was bearish, we would have wanted to see it drop lower again, but instead it has a rally after opening, dropping lower, and then crossing back through the open of that price. We close above the constant encroachment of this SIBI and through the high here, and then start eating up through the sell side imbalance completely, creating a down close candle here in the upper portion of that range. And after that, we start respecting the new week opening gap. There's no low created lower after the respect here. After we put in this down close candle at the top of the 4 hour SIBI here, we have nice responsiveness on the open, but this kind of doji kind of puts me on the sidelines first. I don't really like to see price. I don't like to interact with price when it does this kind of thing on the open of any news events. But after the new open here, it begins to show its cards after respecting the low of this SIBI. And then crossing through the opening here, we have a strong delivery through the constant encroachment of this range and through the high. And price eats up through all of our head time frame levels and utilizes this old high as a breaker and has a strong responsiveness off of this high and delivers us into a new all-time high. On the 15-minute time frame, I've brought over some imbalances that has been produced earlier in the week, and we can see our Asia range here and our new day opening gap. There was an immediate open bullish with a responsiveness on the wick constant encroachment here at 876. Price drops lower under this low and respects the imbalance here. Price consolidates all throughout the Asia session after respecting this SIBI as a higher consolidation here and a high resistance liquidity run to the downside here, and continuous consolidation style high resistance delivery until finally has a really big move on the opening of 3 o'clock here, dropping in into a buy-side balance from Friday on the 15-minute chart, and again those higher time frame levels. We have that turning point as described on the hourly chart, and after we work away here, we have a responsiveness from all of this range, and there is no new low that is created after this delivery, meeting up into a higher time frame level. Just this simple retracement brings us back down into the down close candle here. We have a strong delivery through the midnight opening price and congestion going into the pre-market and the open of New York. Price swipes below some liquidity here and into a down close candle. We do a turning point here inside these wicks and begin overlapping down close candles and eating up through them and delivering higher into an old sell side imbalance from Monday, delivering strongly through Tuesday's high and then continuously drawing higher into an all-time high today. On the 5-minute chart, we can see that congestion going into the pre-market of New York and the open. We rally, turn around here, and then drop lower, delivering strongly below these lows and tripping in some short sellers on a breakout. We deliver through this imbalance here with this wick, and then it's necessary for us to watch the opening here as it drops lower and then trades up through its opening price again. We want to see if we can have a responsiveness in this wick, and we deliver through it strongly, so this is our turning point. Down close candle here confirms it after driving higher, and we continuously draw up into our higher time frame levels and that Tuesday high. Have a consolidation here and a breakout higher. Price begins to reference the Monday level, and every down close range that is produced in this consolidation is referencing this down close candle here. Price rallies strongly throughout the PM session and gives us a new all-time high before the afternoon is closed. On the 1-minute time frame, I've added that opening range of balance here. This is our first presentation fair value gap. We can see the consolidation on the top of it, and then breaking down, we have a delivery into the opening sell side liquidity. Price turns around here and begins referencing the opening range imbalance. After delivering up to the high, we rebalance the low and break through again. So as we retrace, we want to see responsiveness from the high of this range, and we see that rally strong. Going into 10:30 and 11 o'clock, we see a reaccumulation happen. Price breaks higher and references our higher time frame levels in a holding pattern throughout lunch, and then the afternoon wakes up. We stay kind of in a compressed range, just marking time going into the afternoon, and then we have our first presentation for Vega for the PM session. Price rallies above it and breaks lower. References it here on a sell-off into relative equal lows from before the open of a PM session. We reaccumulate below the PM first presentation and rally above those highs. And as we're delivering into an all-time high, we drop back lower one more time into that first presentation and then reaccumulate higher, delivering into our all-time high to close the day. Well, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you learned something. If you found anything insightful, don't forget to leave a like and a comment and subscribe. I'll see you all tomorrow.